I knew I wanted to write this song, and I was going into different writing sessions with co-writers, and I would tell them the idea and they'd be like, song about Big Pharma. What else you got?
What happens when a country artist decides to take on Big Pharma and start naming names? My name is James Lee, and you're watching Beyond the Headlines on Breaking Points. In a music industry where most artists play it safe, one renegade artist from rural Kentucky recently dropped a mega viral anthem, The Devil Wore Lab Coat, a song that calls out the pharmaceutical industry for what it really is, a legalized drug cartel that's made billions off the opioid crisis while entire communities were left to rot. Today, we're joined by Mary Kutter, an independent artist and songwriter who is evidently not afraid to write songs that piss off power. Mary, welcome to Breaking Points.
James, thank you for having me. And, I think you just put it, it perfectly about what the song is about. And I appreciate you having me on.
Of course, yeah, thanks for being here. Let's start with that song that's been making the waves, The Devil Wore Lab Coat, just an absolute banger, by the way. I'm wondering what inspired you to write that track. Was it based on a personal experience? Was it for someone in particular, or just something you felt needed to be said?
Well, I grew up in Kentucky, and I saw firsthand how, my hometown and all the counties around where I grew up in Kentucky, it was kind of like a wrecking ball was thrown through our towns. And you'd be hard pressed to find someone who didn't know someone or wasn't going through that struggle themselves. And it was on my heart a long time to write. And of course, I live in Nashville now, and my job is to write songs that hopefully people want to listen to. And so I knew I wanted to write this song, and I was going into different writing sessions with co-writers, and I would tell them the idea, and they'd be like, "Song about Big Pharma. What else you got?" And finally, it was the right combo of friends that day, and the song just fell out, and it was just a message that I felt like needed to be shared, a story that needed to be told, and I'm glad that it's out there.
Yeah, it's a very powerful song. So I'm wondering, in
Thank you.
terms of your listeners, what do you want them to walk away with after hearing that song? Is it just awareness about Big Pharma's role in the opioid crisis? Is it calling out the healthcare industry in general? Or are you calling attention to something maybe even broader like political reform, ending corporate lobbying that allows these kinds of things to occur? What's your perspective?
I definitely want first off for anyone that's been affected by this, which unfortunately there's a lot of people, and people can Google the stats. It's crazy the amount of deaths, just that alone. I don't want to misspeak with numbers, but it's totally insane. But the first piece of it, the most important part is I want people to feel seen that have gone through this and are still going through it. And there is a lot of change that needs to be done. And I think that the first step to that is, shine a light on what's actually going on. And I feel like music is such a unifier. And it's pretty crazy. Whenever I wrote the song, I posted a little snippet of it, and that's of course when things just started going crazy with virality. And I was looking through the comments section, and you're seeing folks, from all different walks of life comment their stories about the epidemic. And unfortunately, we all struggle, and I think that it's kind of a theme that a lot of people do want to get, ironed out and get the Windex on there and, clean it up. But I think the first step is just talking about it.
Yeah, you mentioned that music is a big unifier, brings people together. But I do notice that a lot of musicians steer clear of topics like this because I think it can hurt their commercial prospects, whether it be getting played on the radio or getting on playlists, brand partnerships, that kind of thing. So for you, why do you feel like it's worth the risk to go there?
That's such a good question. And I don't know if anyone's ever asked me that, James. You got a good noggin on your shoulders.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that, not every single song is meant to be, you know, uh, a top 40 hit. Before I started doing my artistry, I was writing songs for other artists to sing. And, I was real lucky to be friends with a lot of these artists like Bailey Zimmerman, Nate Smith, who, my songs that I've helped write are platinum gold top 20 hits. And uh, not every song that I write is in this bucket of, I don't even know if activism is the right word, but I do like writing something that has a little bit of meat on the bone. And there's nothing wrong though with, writing about the tropes of heartbreak, getting drunk at the bar, getting over your ex. I think we all write those songs if you're in country music. But I feel like sometimes you just gotta let the story lead and let your heart lead. And uh that's what lab coat is for me.
Okay, that's interesting. Um, is that so? I want to dive into a little bit of your background as well, because I think that's super interesting, like where you're coming from, your upbringing. Because I've listened to a lot of your catalog. You touch on a lot of issues, from very serious to kind of lighthearted.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm wondering, growing up in rural Kentucky, how has that shaped your views of, songwriting, what you talk about, and even broader? I'm very curious about your views of, let's say, the establishment, quote unquote, groups or institutions like the government, the Fed, big pharma, or even the music industry.
Absolutely. So I did grow up in the sticks of Kentucky, and I grew up where all the bourbon is made. Like literally, you throw a rock, you are going to hit a distillery. I mean, that's just the way it is. And my family history is very tied in with that as well. My great granddaddy was a bootlegger who he was also a very religious man and loved his community. And while he was technically an outlaw, bootlegging during Prohibition, he used a big portion of that money to help build a church. And so I guess from the get-go, it's even in my DNA a little bit to, take care of your own and try to do the right thing to do. But now also, side note, where I'm from, I don't know how much research you've done on the cornbread mafia or not, James, but in case our
Not too much, but
listeners,
I'm now you've piqued my interest.
I gotta tell you about them. This is crazy. Okay, so back in the 80s, where I grew up in central Kentucky, there were a group of farmers, bankers, there's some preachers, just local, normal Kentuckian fellers that were basically trying to get by, and they were struggling financially, and they ended up creating an organization that ended up becoming the largest manufacturer of marijuana in the United States. Well, the FBI caught wind of these guys and they went down to try to break it up. Obviously, that was illegal. Well, they rounded up, I think it was over 70 people where I'm from, and no one talked. No one talked at all. And it was the largest roundup ever in FBI history, like ever, where literally no one talked. And so I ended up writing a song about that. It's called Smell the Smoke. But I grew up hearing stories of, and they did not call themselves the Cornbread Mafia, I should note. The FBI dubbed them that title. Of course, that's just what they're known by now, but there's been documentaries and books written about them. But anyway, there's a lot of crazy side stories that aren't relevant to right now. But I grew up hearing stories about these people, and honestly, like, there were different people in our community that, of course, were still kicking that have been part of that, So you would think, whoa, so he does this, but he would used to do, it was a very interesting upbringing looking back now. But I think, definitely the idea of working hard and not having anything handed to you is a definite thing. Almost everyone where I'm from, they work on the line, then they go home and they work on their farm, and uh there's not a lot of money where I'm from unless of course you're, doing bourbon or horses, but I grew up, very proud of my roots. I think that Kentucky is such a beautiful place, such a beautiful place. Just like looking outside, it's gorgeous. But there's a lot of hardships that have been in that area since the beginning, I mean, and I'm not even talking about the coal industry, that's a whole nother layer. And everything from, the tobacco to, of course, in the moonshining. And like the history is really rich in people doing what they felt like they needed to do to survive. And I feel like that's bound to probably shape my brain with how I view things for sure.
Yeah, fascinating story. Got it. Now there's a new rabbit hole to go down, the cornbread mafia. You
Yes.
also and you also clearly, evident it's evident that you have a lot of thoughts that go beyond just big pharma. Your manager told me that you quote write songs that matter. So the final question I want to ask you is, are there other topics that you're passionate about tackling in your music? Any new songs that you want to tease that dive into something this bold again as, the lab coat song?
There's a song that is not out yet. I posted it, a little clip of it, maybe twice, maybe three times on socials. And every time I posted it, it's kind of exploded. And I think it's one of those songs that's a very special one, because of what it says. And I think that's why it's done what it's done. It's called Hands, and I'm going to be recording and releasing it really soon. It's about domestic abuse. And of course, there's been other songs, written in country music that's about that, of course, But whenever we went into the writing room that day, we decided instead of making it like an angry song or a bitter song, it would be this beautiful ballad. Like you almost think, teaser alert, telling you about the song now, but you almost think it's going to be this beautiful love song. And then at the very end of the chorus, you're saying, how you met this person, how you trusted them, how you had never felt this way about anyone, and you never would have thought that they would ever lay hands on you. And I wanted to write this song in a way that if you were in that situation, I thought about some people that I love that have dealt with that, and I wanted to make it as real as possible. And so there's so many different subjects, like, I mean, obviously there's the big pharma land, there's just poverty overcoming, but domestic abuse, there's substance abuse, there's so many different lanes, so many different things to talk about. And I feel very, very, very blessed to get up every morning and think, what can I write today that hopefully says something, but also is written in such a way that it's something you'd want to listen to again. It's not just a poem. So anyway, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sure a lot of people will look forward to that song coming out. So where do you want people to follow you?
Ooh, well, everywhere you can find me, at Mary Kutter, and Cutter is with a K, like you cut paper, but with a K.
Awesome. All right, Mary Kutter. Really, I just want to say I really appreciate you for coming on. Appreciate your voice in more ways than one, right? Your actual the voice, but also the songwriting, the words that you put out in the world. So definitely keep at it, and I'm sure your popularity will just continue to grow as you continue to put out songs like that.
Thank you, James. Appreciate you.
If you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.